Hey guys, so today I'm going to show you a few books that I've read that are in my library. So basically the books of an entrepreneur. Coming up next. Hey guys, this is Broke to Beast, where we make videos about starting your own business, online or offline, as well as follow along my own journey. Before we start, if you like entrepreneurship and business content, make sure you go down below and subscribe because we post videos every day about helping you achieve your success. Alright, keep in mind guys that a lot of the books that I've read in the past are in digital form, so the only books that I have in physical form are the ones where I read when I was a teenager or that I really liked them, so I had to buy them in physical form. Alright, so the first book that I read about business was The 4-Hour Workweek. And I know that a lot of people have controversial opinions about this book. Some people either really love it or some people really hate it. And although I do agree with some of the suggestions on this book, I also think that a lot of this can be misleading in terms of how you should conduct your business. Because if you simply, even by the title, if you try to build a business on 4 hours per week, you're more likely not going to have success long term. You can make some money, but in the long term, you need to expend a lot of hours in the beginning to build a system, something that works without you. However, with just 4 hours, I wouldn't say that's the best option, especially if you want to build a legacy and something that is bigger, like a $1 million company or even a $1 billion company. However, a lot of the tactics in this book about not wasting time and avoiding meetings or the types of customers that you should fire or keep in your business, and for example the 80-20 rule where 80% of your revenue comes from 20% of your customers, those are really good concepts. So I'd still suggest you, even though this book is a little outdated in terms of marketing ideas and business ideas, but it's still very valuable in 2018. So the second book that I read about business is 0 to 1. Now this book, the title is in Portuguese, but its original title is From 0 to 1 by Peter Thiel, and I believe he was a co-founder of PayPal, and he's built other companies from there, and he believes truly that the really breakthrough companies that have success are the ones who don't try to open the market vertically, but yes, horizontally. So instead of focusing on building companies, Me Too companies, going into markets where there are already a lot of companies and trying to be different in that way, he says that the best strategy is to actually go horizontally and enter a new market. So be the leader in a new market. In a sense, I do agree with some of the ideas of the book, because we always have to look for the blue ocean instead of the red ocean. So go for the blue ocean strategy. That's another book if you haven't heard of it. But in another way, I also think that a lot of beginners, if you're going into business, if it's the first time you're creating a business, creating a Me Too company is not a bad idea. Unless, if you do it well, because there's space for everybody. If you just take a piece of the pie and you can have a full-time income, that's a pretty good business, right? You don't have to have a job. And then from there, you start building better and better businesses. I see entrepreneurship as like stairs. You start by the bottom stair, which is the most simplest business, and then you keep going up and having harder and harder businesses. Now, you can always skip the stairs and just, jump up to the next, take the elevator, as Peter Thiel says, but, well, it depends on the strategy you want to implement. All right, the next book that I'm going to talk about is The $100 Startup, and it's by Chris Guillebeau. He's French, I don't know how to say his name. And this book is somewhat like the 4-Hour Workweek, but I think it's better because it focuses on specific strategies and detailing the specific strategies to create your business through content. I've read this book a while ago, so I don't really remember everything that it's saying, but I remember that it was based on value. So the main message, I think, was that you should focus on giving value first to an audience and then giving products to that audience. If you listen to people that are listening to you about a specific topic, they will be the ones that will tell you what kind of products they want to buy. So instead of building something for imaginary customers, you're actually building something for your audience. The next book is something that I have a hobby about, and it is body language. This is Truth or Lie, and it's by Joe Navarro. He's an ex-FBI agent, and I have tons of books on body language because since I was a kid, I was obsessed in reading people, kind of in a creepy way as well. In the classroom, I would be like looking at people to see if they were lying or what kind of posture or body language they were doing to see what was going through their mind. And I actually truly believe these types of books have helped me a lot in my relationships and how I've dealt with the world. A lot of things that I can understand more quickly than other people because I can read people's body language. And even scratches, if you scratch your own neck or you scratch your arm, I can understand that. And there's books that explain you what those gestures means. And it can give you a lot of advantages in a lot of situations. If you're in a business negotiation, or if you're trying to get a job and you want to understand if you've passed the line, if you're just talking to friends and you don't want to offend people, you just want to bring the best out in them. If you understand people's expressions and how they react to how you talk or how you act, you can understand how to calibrate and have the best success in your life. Alright guys, so the next book on my list is Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. A lot of these titles are in Portuguese because I can only find the books in Portuguese, unfortunately, in my bookstore. But to be honest, I'd rather read them in English. And I think I read this book in English. I just read it online and then I decided to buy it anyways. I don't know why. It was weird, but yeah, this book is very good. I'd say a lot of these concepts have been used in a lot of videos and a lot of content, a lot of other books in the self-help world. So a lot of the concepts that I read here, I was already familiar with, especially, for example, the book called The 7 Habits of Highly Successful People. A lot of the concepts are also in this book. But it was a very good reminder in terms of what's important, and also the way in how sometimes things we can't prove with science can actually be used as a tool in business or in life success. Sometimes, even though you can see the vision of yourself accomplishing something, if you don't have a true belief in yourself that you're going to do it, sometimes execution won't be there. So it's basically the concept of the universe. If you give out to the universe, you're going to receive that. If you believe that or not, it doesn't really matter, but it's a good idea to keep in mind, because especially in those dark moments where nothing's working and you're just, damn, why is it not working? Like, I gotta change my business model or something. If you come back to this and you go back to the basics and you just tell yourself, like, I just gotta keep trying and one day it will work. It can be some type of God, basically, that will guide you in the right direction if you believe in that. So the next book is called Persuasion. It's one of the first books I bought in how to influence people and how to read people as well. I think this has some body language tips as well inside. And to be honest, it's been a long time since I read this book, and I gotta reread it because I remember there were a lot of cool things. And it has some interconnection with another book that I'm gonna talk about. And the cool thing about this book is that it has a lot of examples of real world interactions where you can use this book to your advantage. And so there's things like how to cold call offices to get in touch with the CEO, so how to get past the secretary. There's negotiation tips. There's so many things. I really have to reread this book because I remember there were a lot of cool things. And depending on where you are in your journey, this might actually be useless, a lot of these examples. So just read it, but understand that a lot of parts might not be applicable to you right now at this moment. And that's probably why I don't remember, because I read this when I was 15 and I didn't have any businesses, so it was actually useless. But now that I am in the business world and I'm trying to become an entrepreneur, I think I should reread this book. So Persuasion by James Borg. All right, the next book that is tied actually to that book is called How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. Everybody knows this book in the self-help and business world, so I don't need to waste a lot of time with it. But if you don't know what it is, it's basically the basic concepts you need to master in order to be liked by people. The act of listening, and not just because it's a good thing to do, but also because the actual results you can get by applying whatever they're talking about. So there's things like, for example, the 6 main ways to make people like you, the 12 ways to win people to your way of thinking, or the 9 ways to change people without arousing resentment. And these titles might seem a little manipulative or not, depending on what your personality is. But to be honest, after I've read this book, a lot of things changed in my mind. Even though a lot of these concepts I already knew because of the 7 habits of highly successful people, a lot of things were new and were very good reminders and had very good examples in the real world. So for example, when I went in my trip to Argentina for 4 months, I actually can remember a couple cases or more where this book was critical in dealing with people and actually involving people in groups and doing cool activities together. And I think without this book, it would be much harder, and I would probably be a little bit more of an asshole in the process. Right, the next book on the list is The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari. And this is one of the first books that really, really impacted me. I don't know if it was because it was one of the first self-help books, so I was so amazed by the potential of changing myself and becoming a different person totally from when I started. But every single chapter just shows you different ways you can change yourself, from meditation to like pillar parts of your existence and your being that you can change in order to become a better person. In terms of habits, in terms of your destination, in terms of what's important in your life. For example, the power of discipline. A lot of these things are very essential to build a great character of a warrior, somebody that's going to take on a really big workload. And so I really suggest this. And sometimes these books may not be maybe the most revolutionary in terms of changing your life, but if you're in the dump or you need something to kind of motivate you or to start your day, I'd say these books can work very well because they take you back to the basics of where you started and why you started on the journey. Even if you're not an entrepreneur, this book is great. The last book in my library is a really good book that is very logical, and I pretty much can actively say that it changed how I live my life and how I view myself. And it's called The Power of Discipline by Charles Duhigg. I don't know how to say his name. And this book, I'd say it's a little big, to be honest. It has too many examples, but I understand because there's a lot of people that need a lot of examples in order to process a lot of information. But in itself, I think the book is very good because it teaches you how to understand habits and how to actually change them. Not just simply through willpower or discipline, but through actual methodic changes in the pattern to achieve your final result. So if you have the habit of smoking, for example, you have a cue and then you have a reward at the end, and you have the process in the middle. So the cue would be maybe it's 5 o'clock and you usually smoke at 5 o'clock. The process is smoking, and the reward is feeling the nicotine going through your brain and settling down your emotions. And so if you can switch the one in the middle and have the same reward and the same cue, you can actually change the habit much more easily than trying to willpower your way through changing the habit. So if you take smoking out and you put, for example, even eating a cookie, I'd say eating a cookie is better than smoking if you control it. So the cue is 5 o'clock, and then smoking is replaced by a cookie and it gives you good feelings. And the reward, instead of nicotine, it's dopamine because of the sugar, and it just makes you feel good. And that way it can be much easier. And then also it talks about the minimum amount of days you need to change a habit, and which is 21. But it's actually better if you go through for 30 days, each and every single day, or even more if you can, to really solidify that habit. So yeah, this is the last book, and it's a really good one because it helped me change a lot of habits. And actually the latest habit that I changed, that was one of the hardest to change, yes, was the habit of sleeping late at night. I was convinced that if I slept later, I could work myself at night when no one was awake, so I could be totally focused. And although this is true, I wasted too many hours in between and before that were non-productive, which meant that I decided to change and wake up way earlier, at around, not way earlier, like at 10 o'clock, that's late for most people, but at least I had the whole day, and it instantly I felt much more energized, and I just felt that I had so many more hours in a day. Anyways, this is the list of the books that I have in my library. And if you're an entrepreneur, I think these books can help you very much, because I know they helped me very much in my journey and how to become a better person. And I believe that a company is always around the CEO and their personality. So if you have the best habits in yourself and you have everything taken care of inside of you, you know that you can establish a good company and a good strategy to build it. Also in terms of execution, if you don't have discipline, you probably will have no execution and you will have to give up earlier. So yeah, all of these books help me a lot. If you like the books and if you like this type of content, please leave a like and also subscribe, because we post videos every day about helping you achieve your success. And if you have any comments or questions, please leave them in the comments below so we can exchange ideas and have an open conversation about all of these books and its concepts. And if you have any book suggestions, also put them in the comments. And until next time, peace.